Waiting for Isa.
Yes, attorney.
Yun yung unang spill eh.
Hello again, everyone. Good afternoon. Sana ay masarap ang ating lunch at handa na tayong ipagpatuloy ang pakikinig sa ating summit. We welcome you back for the rest of the afternoon session. And we anticipate a productive afternoon session and hope that everyone is feeling refreshed and energized. At para simulan ang ating afternoon session, muli nating pakinggan ang ating mga learners na sina Mary Antoinette Tosok mula sa Manggahan Elementary School ng Pasig City.
Good afternoon, everyone. I am Mary Antoinette Tosok from School Division of Pasig City, Manggahan Elementary School, and I will be your reporter for this time. I'm here to share our ideas on the theme Kalinga. First, I'm very thankful for this opportunity that given to us. The topic that we pick is the right of mentally or physically disabled children to special care. SPED is not accessible to all disabled persons since many disabled persons live in poverty. Some people do not pay attention to their surroundings. People with special needs who need to be treated as special. SPED should have special education that is accessible with them. Person with disabilities or person with special needs have to be treated with respect and care because there are persons that have made different appearances but are also living persons. So, we shouldn't judge them. We should be proud of them. Why? Because even though they are different from others, they'll still have the courage to show and be proud of what they have. Sila ay talentadong mga tao na sa kabila ng kanilang kapansanan, ito ay hindi naging hadlang para sila ay bumangon at maging malakas. The other one is the right to protection. The program that we pick is the Child Protection Committee. The issue that we pick is about bullying and discrimination. We all know what is bullying. Some people bully a person because of their appearance, differences, and jealousy. Some people think that bullying does not affect the victim. But because of bullying, the victim adopts trust issue, depression, anxiety, and bad mental health. I believe that a solution for this problem is to have students and learners have self-discipline. It is simple, but many people don't have it because of jealousy, which make us do things that we shouldn't do. If you have to bully or be rude and cruel to someone just to make yourself feel better, you are not emotionally immature, but in desperate need of some serious help. And I believe that without self-discipline, success is impossible. Again, I'm Mary Antoinette Tasok, your reporter for the team Kalinga, and I thank you.
Maraming salamat, Mary Antoinette. At muli, para ipagpatuloy ang kanilang report para sa Kalinga or Care in Education, tinatawagan ko muli si Miguel Alfonso Santiago ng Parañaque National Science High School.
Ayun po, no? Magandang hapon naman po for the last time. Ayan, pwede na kagad ako mag-share screen. At ito naman po ang aming mga saloobin, or here are thoughts on the concept of Kalinga. So, for the right that we chose, the first one is the right to be protected against abuse and exploitation. So, what are the programs being currently implemented by the DepEd today? So, for us, it's the comprehensive sexual education. For me specifically, I've just actually experienced this yesterday as we finished the last batch of this yesterday po. So, what are the issues or where are the gaps present? So first is we feel that there's a lack of clear accountability systems for those who are caught and proven to have done abuse or exploitation towards children. And second, there's a lack of formal channels of communication for incidents. So a really common problem that we see here and hear from our constituents is that often when an incident happens and a victim is too afraid to speak up to their advisor or to their parents in fear of being invalidated, in fear of getting in trouble, or in fear of na harm will be done to them. No. So what are recommendations in order to resolve this? So first is creating a standard of procedure for when a report occurs, especially within the school. We feel like if students know that there is a clear standard of procedure that ensures that there's proper accountability for perpetrators of this, these types of incidents happen less often. And second, we feel that there needs to be a help desk within the school that victims can go to, sort of like a safe space that they know they can approach and not be invalidated and be actually listened to. So the second right that we focused on is the right to enjoy the highest attainable standard of health. Actually, no, kanina lang po ASEC Dex had a talk about this, and when we talk about standard of health here, we're mainly focusing on mental health. So, what are the programs that we're currently experiencing? So, the major program that we're currently experiencing right now is the psychosocial management programs, which I think a lot of us, especially the students present here today, have already experienced. So, where are the gaps now, or what are the issues being faced by students today in the area of mental health? So, first is transition issues from online classes to face-to-face. As we all know, we went in the span of about 2 years, even more so, we went from full face-to-face to full online classes and modular learning to hybrid learning to full face-to-face again. And that's a lot of change to go through under a limited amount of time. And with that amount of change, there tends to be challenges. And part of that is deteriorating mental health because of the lack of ability to adjust and cope with these challenges. And the second issue that we see is that the psychosocial programs become too general because they try to appeal or they try to give knowledge to everybody. So what are our recommendations in order to resolve these issues? So first, our ground-up psychosocial programs. If we allow schools to create their own psychosocial programs, guided by the blueprint from the central office, we feel that schools will be able to make these programs actually address the issues and challenges being faced by their students. And this is going to be done in collaboration with our second recommendation of having a needs-based assessment done together with the coordination of the SSG in evaluating the psychosocial needs of students. No? So let's utilize our SSG in order to know what our students actually need and what issues and challenges our students are actually facing. So before I end, again, for the last time, I just want to thank everyone who listened to me so far and the organizers for giving me the opportunity to speak again, especially as I've also attended the first National Summit. It's been a pleasure for me to return to this summit and see how our efforts got implemented, how our recommendations from the first summit is being implemented na today. So that really makes it surreal for me. So thank you po.
Thank you again, Mary, Antoinette, and Miguel. Maraming salamat sa inyong mga insights. Really, when learners address us with their concerns, we are happy to hear them out. This is a great chance to pay attention to what they have to say and address concerns in this summit.
Now, sorry.
And yes, oo. And now, to provide us a better understanding on our third and last plenary session on the context of Kalinga in children's rights, may we call on our partner from Save the Children Philippines, Mr. Rogelio Lelis Jr., to give us the presentation about the study on the impact of COVID-19 pandemic on the mental health and psychosocial well-being of Filipino children.
Yes, Sir Rogelio Lelis Jr. is the technical advisor for mental health and psychosocial support, or MHPSS, of Save the Children Philippines. Prior to joining Save the Children, Sir Rog had over 9 years of professional experience in teaching and MHPSS programming. He taught psychology courses such as social psychology, field methods in psychology, and disaster mental health to BA level students, while also affiliated with several professional organizations as MHPSS specialist, leading teams to respond to the mental health needs of disaster-stricken and conflict-affected communities in Mindanao and other regions in the Philippines. He's interested in culturally appropriate applications of applications of clinical and social and peace psychology and humanitarian and development MHPSS programming. Sir Rog holds a bachelor's degree in psychology from Ateneo de Davao University and is currently a candidate for master's degree in clinical psychology from the same university. Sir Rog?
Thank you, sir, at magandang hapon po sa lahat. I'll try to share my screen now so I can proceed. Okay. Ayan. Can I get a thumbs up po if you're seeing my screen?
Yes po, we can see your screen.
Ayun. Thank you, sir. I have about 20 minutes to run through this research that was conducted during the pandemic. So I'll jump right into to it. So to inform the programming of Save the Children Philippines, the organization commissioned the Psychosocial Support and Children's Rights Resource Center to do this research. So data collection was done from November 2020 to March 2021. So that was the period, if you remember. It seems like ang tagal na nangyayari yun. But this was the period when NCR was placed under the GCQ, or General Community Quarantine, which had less stringent restrictions than the ECQ. It was also the time when binabaan yung, pwede nang lumabas for those who are below 15 years old, from the more stringent 21 years old and 21 below 21 years old and above 65 years old during the ECQ. So this research is entitled The Impact of COVID-19 Pandemic on the Mental Health and Psychosocial Well-Being of Filipino Children in some selected cities in Metro Manila. So for this research, the primary objective to inform the programming of Save the Children, we wanted to get a description of the mental health and psychosocial well-being of children, and identify their stressors and coping mechanisms during that time, identify concerns and needs, and lastly, to suggest interventions, hindi lang para sa amin, but interventions that can also be implemented by different stakeholders to support and protect the children. So there. So for the participants, or interviews, in-depth interviews were conducted in a total of sample of 126. They are from Navotas, Malabon, Pasay, and Quezon City. These are the areas where Save the Children has programs and partners working in the communities. Now, the recruitment was done face-to-face, and the participants were randomly chosen after that. Now, for us to ensure that random selection is carried out, an area method approach was adopted. So for each barangay, 1 to 2 individuals per category was recruited, and you are seeing those categories in your screens right now. Yun. So only one participant per household was allowed to join the study. So if an adolescent, for example, already consented for an interview, that excluded the participation of any other member of the household. So for 126 total sample, 71 adults. These are adults for children. So these are, we interview the adults for children ages 6 to 12 years old. Para sila yung kinuhanan, pinaghalawan natin on the experiences of children during this time. And there are 55 adolescents, so ages 13 to 18 years old. There were 28 females and 27 males. These are the participants. They are the participants because they are the ones who fit the inclusion criteria. Now, two instruments were developed for the study. Both are semi-structured interviews, in-depth interviews, interview guide rather. For one for adolescents and the other one is for adults for their children. So I just need to highlight that because that's a limitation of the study, really. But of course, since certain approaches and steps were done in order to address that. So when interviews were conducted, these were conducted via internet audio calls, so mobile phones as well. For interviews with adolescents, they were directly interviewed by one of the researchers with a buddy listening in compliance with Save the Children's Child Safeguarding guidelines. And for adults, key informants, on the other hand, they were interviewed instead of the younger children, as I mentioned earlier. This is done as a child protection measure, and because appropriate child-friendly qualitative approaches are really difficult to adapt in mobile phone interviews. So baka hindi natin makuha exactly what we need to gather, the data that we need to gather for the research. And that's especially even more challenging for low-income populations, as found in other studies. So, so we're putting it out there that the children's experiences, their stressors and well-being, were filtered through the perceptions and observations of parents, the guardians, and caregivers. So data that we get from them are supposed to be handled with care as well. So as I mentioned earlier, that's an explicit limitation of the study. What the consultant did is to triangulate, provide varied probes to the participants' responses to allow for checking for consistency and coherence of the data that was collected. Okay, so for each of the 126 participants, we were able to gather their narratives, and of course you have summary sheets. Later on you will see numbers. So what we did is that the sheets created a summary, the information of the interview. We also develop, or the consultant also developed, aside from content analysis, frequency matrices. And these were created in order to quantify certain aspects of the participants' narratives. So these were clustered into 4 general categories. So you have 1, family and household life; 2, social life; 3, education; 4, physical and mental health. And then you also have psychosocial well-being along that. And these are actually the areas that I just want to present it right now. This is already out, even since last year, but we are also sharing it with the organizers because you may want to go through the other things that are important, the more detailed discussions and results na makikita natin, especially yung disaggregation and differences ng male and female participants. For For this afternoon, I'm just going to talk about the salient parts, consolidated results of the research. Ayun. So, um, let's start with, so as I mentioned earlier, apat po na cluster. I'll start with family life. The participants reported family and household environment as one of the roots of their stressors during the pandemic. So these stressors were related mainly to financial instability, relationship conflicts among family members. Apektado din siya because of financial instability, as well as issues in disciplining their children, experience of parental neglect, was there abuse, and the fear of being afflicted with COVID-19 virus, among other things. So most of the children's family members have experienced financial difficulties during the pandemic, around 82%, as you can see. Their financial burden is also compounded by the medical needs of other family members, around 14%. Some of them, mas lumala yung sakit during the pandemic, which means na dati-rati pa, no, ay problema na din. The loss of job and income source of a family member are connected also to household challenges the participants have experienced during that time. The loss of income not only affected how families address medical needs of other household members. As I mentioned earlier, it has also impacted yung relationship among and between family members. So quarrels and conflicts sometimes is due to financial constraints. Financial challenges as well is sometimes linked to anxieties experienced by the participants interviewed. No, for example, following COVID-19 restrictions, yung may mga penalty, no, kasi may iba na lumalabas pa rin. So also they experience like misunderstanding with siblings and other family members. I think I already mentioned that, but that's around 70% of children and adolescents. As you can see in number 2. So I think, adult informants reported facing problems looking after their children as well. Sometimes not just their children, also their niece, nephew, and even their grandchildren. So note that how the profile of our participants, more than half of the participants, like that's 55% of the participants, live with their extended family, including their nuclear family, ranging from 3 to 23 members, with a mean number of around 6 members per household. So the children in this study mostly live in a multi-generational household with their grandparents, aunt, uncle, cousins, and for the parents, yung kanilang niece and nephews. So this is the norm among low-income Filipino couples with no fixed residence yet. They live with their parents first, and then the lockdown happened, and then ayun, na sama-sama ang lahat. So a majority have issues in disciplining their child, 92%. And they mostly describe the children as kulit, maldita, pasaway, or di sumusunod sa utos. Many, it's around 30%, also physically hurt their children to discipline them, either by pinching them or spanking. The adult informants somehow do not see these instances of corporal punishment as a problem. And more than half of the parents, around 51%, believe and think that their child is not encountering any stressor at the moment by saying na there's no problem, walang problema at the time of the interview. They believe that the child, the younger they are, the younger they are, the less problem they have, or there's really no need for them to be stressed about anything. So that's coming from the perspective of the parents. Um, Also important to note that more children, as reported by adults, around 43%, felt fear and worry um, being afflicted by COVID-19 more than the adolescents. So the younger they are, mas takot sila kumpara doon sa mga adolescents in June. Now, the children's relationships with their parents and other family members were also affected no, during the pandemic. Parental neglect, abuse, as mentioned earlier, and detached relationships were mentioned during the interview. Some children were said to be neglected while their parents have to work to provide for their family or while the parents were separating. There was one child who also explicitly mentioned that he experienced physical and verbal abuse from his father. So I guess overall, the atmosphere in a Filipino household during the pandemic more likely include conflicts as we can see, but it's still happy and light environment. The pandemic has in fact given families time to bond over shared activities, watching movies or televisions, eating meals together, doing celebrations, and laro-laro lang, harutan. No? These are happy moments which prior to the pandemic, rarely happens dahil busy ang lahat. The kids go to school, the parents go to work. Yun. For these stressors, ito yung ina-employ ng ating mga participants na coping strategies. No? But it's important also to note that they are reported through most of these coping strategies were reported by lifted from the adult participants. Yeah. So especially yung sa very young. While the adolescents shared that they actively help out however they can for the family. For financial constraints and challenges experienced by the children, their family members usually find ways to address these concerns. So majority ng kanilang pag-a-address nito is to around 71% is to seek material support either from the government, yung ayuda sa allowances, relief goods na pinamimigay. They also seek help from their friends, from neighbors, or social support system. Yung mga nagpapautang, minsan lumabas yung 5-6 money lending, at yung mga nagbibigay ng grocery goods. Also, some receive help aid from the NGOs that give in kind of donations. So, for a lot of families to make ends meet, the family members do multiple strategies. No, dumediskarte. They venture into online business and selling. They apply for new jobs kung meron na when the restrictions started to get lifted. While some of the adolescents also reported to actively help out with their family's financial struggle by actually looking other sources of income themselves, which includes yung pag-tutor. Some of them did some babysitting task, helping other households with their chores. May iba sa kanila who were able to find jobs as data encoders, and freelance editing as well. So they were able to use technology in order to help out sa financial issues ng family. Another common response to household difficulties is cognitive reframing of their difficulties as something they can overcome. So around 20% of them. Others just passively cope and simply accept the situation as they are. 19% of them have that strategy. For financial difficulties naman, some adolescents recognize that they cannot help with their expenses directly, so they took their studies more seriously, aiming to help the family na sana when they finish, they can secure a good job. So yun yung kanilang iniisip. The adult participants, on the other hand, find comfort in the fact that they are not the only family experiencing the the problems na brought about by the pandemic. So may comparison na method na ginagamit for reframing. Praying and joining spiritual practices are also strategies used by family members to overcome uncertainty. So that's around 16% of the participants. Now, about 8% find comfort and entertain themselves by using social media, listening to music, and playing online games. And there were only 7% of our participants who reported actively seeking emotional support from friends or family. Most of the time, this only happens when they know that they can share their feelings to friends who are in a similar situation. So my hesitation that like, um, they want the company of friends, but they don't talk about the emotions right away. Ayun. For the second cluster, we have education. No? The the most common concern across all children and adolescents in education is the difficulty in understanding the learning materials, around 67% or 84 of the total number of participants. Younger children, though, struggle more with comprehending the content of their module, especially those who cannot read or write well yet. Primary caregivers also sometimes find it hard for them to guide their children, to teach their children. Some of them think that the material is even too advanced for them to yon. And for adolescents, on the other hand, they are more accustomed to face-to-face learning, and they have found it really difficult to adjust. Remember, this is in 2020 to the new mode of learning. They believe that they can learn better kung mas mabilis yung feedback when concepts are explained to them by the teachers in a classroom setting. They have difficulty understanding because they are unable to ask questions or clarifications right away. Of course, hindi mawawala yung poor internet connection. No? That's reported by respondents. 34% of our respondents have that as stressor. Children and adolescents' motivation towards their education was also a concern. About 33% of respondents struggle with motivation and distractions. Now, children have shown this interest in studying for multiple reasons. No? One is that since gadgets are heavily used in learning, they tend to get distracted by the very thing that they use for learning. So they would prefer to play games or scroll through social media. The environment is also another stressor. It's a factor. Children do not feel obligated to study at home kasi naman hindi yung classroom, no? Since they are not in so it's not school, so maybe I'm not supposed to learn. Puro may ganong feeling. So they've also expressed frustration about their parents teaching in the absence of a teacher. So may kalituhan. About 13%, yes, 13% of the respondents, mostly adolescents, have complained about workload. So older adolescents, those who are grade 10 or higher, are more burdened by this since they have more complicated syllabi. Younger children who are still struggling with basic writing find it more difficult, of course, to accomplish schoolwork that require them to write a lot. Now, for coping strategies for education stress, children and adolescents commonly ask for help from different social systems when they are struggling in school. So about 70% of respondents ask help from their family, relatives, neighbors, friends, and children also ask, the younger they are, of course, typically they would ask parents or primary caregivers more since they act as their teacher at home. For older children, they would seek help, no, from their siblings and also from their cousins, no, since they live in that with a multi-generational family. Around 25% seek help from classmates or teachers as well. Not many, which is done more by adults than younger children. For logistical concerns, the respondents seek help beyond their homes. So those who do not have, for example, gadgets or walang Wi-Fi, they would borrow from their relatives or neighbors, and kung available, they would also connect to their Wi-Fi routers to access the internet. Now, since children are more likely to be supervised by their parents, as I mentioned earlier, yung activities nila ay natatrack. So that's another strategy actually. When there is trouble with following instructions, some parents, well, strategy but may downside siya, no? Because if yon, pag may difficulty in following instructions, siguro with parental stress as well, and iba pang pinagdadaanan ng parents, it will sometimes result to beating that child. No? Around 18% merong ganong instance among sa ating mga participants. This also happens when the parents find it difficult to teach the lesson. So pag na-frustrate, nangyayari ito, no? Na napapalo. Adolescents, on the other hand, were more independent when it comes to their education. So some cope with their schoolwork by developing their own time management and productivity systems. About around 7% of the adolescents have mentioned making a to-do list using productivity mobile phone applications and pacing their activities to help them manage the workload. So, and there's only about 2% of the adolescents who know that they were able to manage their time by focusing on their modules when they are unable to attend online classes. So, most would find it really difficult kung sa module lang at walang online classes. But there, for some, it's a strategy for them. So, for instance, in instances that there's no internet connection, for example, they are able to catch up just focusing on their modules. Sorry, maybe you can update me on how much time do I have? All right. For social life, the most common stressor is the decrease in communication, really, with friends. No, around 65% of our respondents said this is by far the most reported social life stressor. The most reported, social life stressor is the most reported na pinaka top tier na stressor ng ating participants, which is not really surprising given the age-based restrictions in the pandemic response. So the second most common stressor in social life are interpersonal conflicts. So nabanggit din to kanina with family life.
Nag-freeze yata si Sir, no?
Yeah, I think. Oo. So, he's back.
Sir, are you back? Meron talagang technical difficulty
These
yata
are
si
what
Sir.
parents label as
Ayun.
hello.
Continue po. Sir, you may continue.
Hello, sir.
Yes, you may continue.
Yeah, I'm
Wala
not.
ka kasi kanina.
I'm sorry. I'm not sure po kung saan ako naputol kasi tuloy-tuloy yung pagsalita ko.
Sa second factor po. Yun ang
Social.
social. Oo.
Okay. But let me reshare. Sorry.
Yung interpersonal conflict po, doon kayo naputol.
Ayun, okay. I thought the entire thing.
Hindi naman.
So yes, yun, around 22% of our participants reported na meron silang yung number 2 item, interpersonal conflict, with friends or partners. So for children, for younger children, these conflicts include what parents would label na away bata lang yan. No? So conflict that arise while playing, sharing toys, and so on. But for adolescents, these conflicts include tampuhan, minsan may romantic flavor din, no? Conflicts with romantic partners that arise due to jealousy, miscommunication, and infidelity, among other things. The third one, most reported social life stressor, is the loss of organizations, teams, community, and groups, no, that they were involved heavily before the pandemic happened, such as church groups and orgs in schools, school clubs. This is primarily reported adults. For children 6 to 12 years old, around 27%. For adolescents, many shared that they were part of organizations before, but they did not meet anymore because of the pandemic, and that impacted their social life. Although they did not precisely classify this as a problem um, or a difficulty, it's more of a challenge lang, no? Na something that they can do something like do something to address it, like for example meeting online instead of face to face. 11% list the non-participation or loss of organization as a stressor, no, not as taas yung first one. um, a little bit something we worried about, no, during this, and 27% of children have also been bullied according to their parents and primary caregivers. These would include verbal, physical, and cyberbullying. The bullies are commonly older than the children, so the power element. And the targets of bullying include their weight, no, tabaka, yan, the perception of them being gay, as well as other perceived negative characteristics, such as smelling bad, mabaho ka, being dark-skinned, and so on. So that's 27%. Now, for coping strategies, for social life stressors, among those who experience decreased communication among friends, many children, that's 81% of our respondents, use social media, gaming, and other online and mobile platforms to maintain some level of communication with their peers. This is less common in children, though due to the more prevalent lack of gadgets at their age. So mas ano siya, mas ginagamit siya na strategy ng adolescents, older children. Gadget sharing, they only use this when they get to share some of the gadgets with their household, with other kids in their household. So a portion of the participants, mostly female teens, not only maintain but increase, in fact, their communication online in lieu of the physical interaction. Some continued physically, no, to meet physically with friends kahit may restriction. This is more common among male adolescents compared to female. So ito yung example po na we will make this available so you can see the differences ng male and female adolescents sa kanilang coping strategies and sa kanilang stressor even. Ayun. Let's go to the last bit, which is physical and mental health report. Physical and mental health, most children and adolescents were able to eat at least 3 times a day during the time of the interview. But some participants have reported having bad household food insecurity during that time. So this food adequacy, in fact, can probably be attributed to the loans taken by the parents and primary caregivers in the household, no, sa mga utang. Another physical concern is the number of children and adolescents who are not able to sleep well, around 37%. This includes those who are not able to get enough hours of sleep, that's less than 8 hours, as well as children who has had a change in sleeping patterns since the pandemic happened. Typically sleeping later than their previous routine. Now, children and adolescents also seem to live in a more sedentary lifestyle, with almost half, 45%, not having consistent physical activities or exercises. Now, um, the most common response regarding the frequency of anxiety, nervousness, fearfulness is sometimes. That's 49%. Or rarely, bihirang nararamdaman, which is around 60, 61, 62, 62% rather. Their anxiety is commonly caused by modules or classes, their wariness from authority figures na baka pumunta sa kanilang bahay, and the fear of being caught by the police when staying outside. None of the children reported that they feel anxious frequently. But as for the teens, around 11% sometimes feel it. Maraming pagkakataon. And there's around 4%, 4%, dalawa, feel na palagi nila itong nararamdaman. Okay. Now, about 48% naman of our informants answered that the children felt sad sometimes. Parents, they do observe that their children get sad when they do not get what they want, when they request for something, or when they want to use the phone, pero hindi na bibigyan, when it's being regulated, they would feel sad now. Another reason was the inability to go outside and meet their friends. The cancellation of graduation rights was also cited as another reason for sadness. Some parents and caregivers, around 32% identified that their children rarely felt sad. Now, more than half, 53% naman, said that they rarely felt, this is for the adolescents, rarely sad. For those who experience sadness, para sa adolescents, ruminating and overthinking their stressors are the primary causes, according to them. Around 22% responded that they felt sadness, maraming pagkakataon nilang naramdaman ito because of periods of rumination over their top stressors, such as their difficulties in school, difficulties and family problems, social life issues. Around 4% of respondents reported that they regularly felt sad. Palagi silang malungkot. One participant had recently experienced loss when his father died, and he also ruminates over his academic problems. Another participant likewise gets sad over her problems, mainly her struggle with meeting her family's expectation of academic achievement. When she doesn't know how to do it dahil may issues with completing some of the modules, etc. Okay, I am almost there. I will leave the recommendations for you to look at later with the full report that we will be making available. I will just talk the 3 more slides. Despite the pandemic, about hopelessness, and the pandemic plus the resulting restriction, most of the adolescents, actually 78%, did not feel hopeless in the past 30 days when they were interviewed. I know that medyo matagal na yon and very fluid ang situation, so this might have changed. But during that time, 78% never felt hopeless. 10 or 18%, 10 to 80% answered with bihira, bihirang nararamdaman, and they cited various reasons why. One participant feels a sense of hopelessness only when his mother and her partner would fight. So external stressor siya. Another participant would feel intense sadness when her family pressures her to meet their expectations and ikumpara siya with a cousin who's living in the same household. Ayun. So more external factors ang cause ng kanilang hopelessness. Calmness, about 87% of the participants shared, of the parents actually, shared that their children are frequently kalmado. No? They can remain steady and focused when doing an activity such as modules, watching television, and playing with their toys. For adolescents, about 49% no, reported uh, na often. No? Commonly answered na kalmado sila, panatag ang kanilang loob very often. So about 36% naman said that they always feel na palagi nilang nararamdaman ang pagiging kalmado. So the reasons they cited for this are feeling calm after overcoming their stressors, such as finishing and passing their requirements and knowing what to do during the class. So they are in control in a way. They also said that they feel no stress in the first place. While others they don't feel stress, they feel calm, sorry, with daily prayer. About 9% naman of the adolescents said na bihirang maramdaman nila pero nararamdaman nila. They feel calm mostly because yung instances lang that they don't feel calm is when there's some level of stress from their classwork. And then let's go to happiness. Most of the children and the adolescents responded that in the past 30 days, they were frequently happy. You know, about 86% of children were observed and reported by parents to be frequently happy. This is because they do activities that make them happy, such as playing and spending time with their friends through video games, and sometimes they go out, no, kahit may restriction pa. And however, no GCQ na, they can go out if they are 15 and above. So unlike sa ECQ na time. They also do social media stuff and TikTok. No? Among adolescents, about 55% of them said that they always feel happy. Their family and friends are their source of happiness. Other reasons for their being happy all the time include the lack of stressors and their general cheerful disposition. There, about 29% of adolescents said that they often feel happy because of their family, as well as their romantic partner and their friends. There's 9% of teen participants who answered that they rarely feel happy. They feel this way because they only occasionally spend time with friends. They are bored at home and afraid that a friend will be moving out of the neighborhood. So the closer their perception is to their to their peers, to their parents, and to other people, no, the more that they perceive, nag-increase yung kanilang level of happiness. Those who perceive na pwedeng may mawala, no, and that they feel may lacking sa kanilang relationship with others, doon bumababa ang kanilang levels of reported level of happiness. Ayun. So the most common top stressors for children, as just a summary, are family and household issues with financial difficulties and interpersonal conflict or disciplining issues comprising the bulk of the stressors in their family life. Education is a clear top stressor for the adolescents, but this is also a pressing issue for many younger children. In terms of their social life, the children seem to encounter more problems. No? They face more interpersonal conflict and bullying compared to the adolescents, whose social life stressors are rarely a top concern. For the teens, however, their social life generally acts as a protective factor despite the pandemic restrictions. Ayun. And the children and the youth overall, I'd say that they encounter the least stress in their physical and mental health, at least for this study. So, yun lang po. Again, we will, thank you for the time. Sorry for the overtime, no? Medyo comprehensive kasi ito siya na report, but we will make it available, attorney, sa inyo so that others can also take a look at it. Maraming salamat po. Good afternoon.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Lelis, for your presentation. Attorney Orville, nakita natin, no, na yung mga stressors talaga, kahit saan yan, and children and adolescents, they experience stress at home and in school, no, na talagang nakakaapekto sa kanilang physical and mental health. And of course, sa kanilang education na rin. That is very evident actually sa mga bata natin ngayon na nag-face-to-face na tayo, kitang-kita natin yun.
Yes, actually, no? And kudos to Sir Roach and Save the Children for that very nice presentation. Okay, I agree with you, Ma'am Isa. And certainly studies like this one, presented by Sir Lelis, are a good and reliable source of knowledge that many may influence the interaction or deepen the connection that parents, teachers, and guardians have with children. Awareness and understanding are powerful tools for positive action. Now, to discuss more about the intervention and programs of DepEd, specifically those efforts that support and ensure mental health and well-being of our learners. We invited the Chief Health Program Officer of the School Health Division, Dr. Maria Corazon C. Dumlao.
Our speaker, a medical doctor by profession, has been in the public health sector for 29 years. She earned her master's degree in public health through a scholarship from the University of the Philippines, Manila, her medical degree from St. Louis University, Baguio City, and her bachelor's degree in biology from the Mariano Marcos State University, Ilocos Norte. Throughout her work, she has been awarded various international scholarships, including the Diploma in Biochemical and Health Information in Mahidol University, Bangkok, Thailand, the Harm Reduction Program course in Kuala Lumpur, Malaysia, course on strategies in life skills development for adolescents in Kasetsrat University, Bangkok, Thailand, and recently the training on drug demand reduction for global trainers in Vienna, Austria. Aside from her current position, she is also engaged in the local and international organizations in various capacities, such as governing board member for the Southeast Asian Ministers of Education, Regional Center for Food and Nutrition, advisor for the Private School Health Officers Association, alumna of the Asian Institute of Management on the Leadership Development course, Global Master Trainer of the Colombo Plan's Universal Prevention Curriculum on Substance Use, through which she has already served as a trainer in countries including such as Malaysia, Dubai, Fiji, Thailand, Myanmar, and South Africa. She is also a global trainer on drug demand reduction of the United Nations Office Drugs and Crime and certified mediator of the department. Ladies and gentlemen, would you please join me in welcoming our Chief Health Program Officer of the School Health Division under the Bureau of Learner Support Services, Department of Education, Dr. Maria Corazon C. Dumlao.
Thank you very much po. Let me share my screen. Sadali lang po. Ano po ba? Ano po ba yung screen, ma'am?
Yes, Doc Dumlao, that's okay now.
Okay. Magandang araw sa ating mga learners na nakasubaybay sa ating 4th National Summit on the Rights of the Child in Education. Magandang araw din sa mga guro at mga partner natin at iba pang stakeholder na kasama ng ating mga learners sa pag-participate sa activity na ito. In-invite ako para maging isa sa mga speaker sa paksang Kalinga, Care and Nurturing in Education. And isa sa mga paraan para maipakita ang care and nurturing na yan ay sa pamamagitan ng comprehensive school health and nutrition para sa mga mag-aaral. Ang amin pong opisina, ang Bureau of Learner Support Services School Health Division, ang napagkatiwalaan ng mandato na manguna sa pagpapatupad ng mga pulisiya at probisyon ng batas, programa at activities para sa health and nutrition ng mga learner kabilang ang kanilang mental health. At ito ang magiging focus ng ating presentation. Kanina sa kanyang presentation, inilahad ni Assistant Secretary Galvan ang mahahalagang probisyon ng RA 11036. In summary, narito ang mga requirements ng batas pagdating sa pagtiyak ng mental health sa mga eskwelahan. Pagpapataas ng awareness sa mental health issues and concepts para sa mga mag-aaral at mga personnel. Pagtiyak na nakapasok sa curriculum ang mga aralin patungkol sa mental health. Pagtukoy sa mga learner at personnel na nangangailangan ng mental health services at pagkakaloob nito sa kanila o pag-connect sa kanila sa referral system at pagtiyak na may maayos na staffing complement para sa sasakatuparan ng mga ito. Bago pa man naipasa ang batas, marami ng iba-ibang initiative ang department para matugunan ang mga ito. Sa pagpasa ng Mental Health Act, patuloy natin silang napalakas at nabigyan ng atensyon at isinaayos pa ang comprehensive framework na magtatahi-tahi sa iba't ibang effort ng iba't ibang opisina patungkol sa mental health. Pero narito, makikita natin ang overview ng mga initiative na ito at kung paano sila tumutugon sa mga requirement ng RA 11036. Nariyan ang Employee Welfare and Wellness sa pangunguna ng ating Employee Welfare Division sa pag-promote ng mental health ng mga personnel. Pagdating naman sa pagtiyak na may maayos tayong staffing complement for mental health, tuloy-tuloy ang pagtatrabaho ng ating Organizational Effectiveness Division para sa comprehensive na HROD plan para sa ating guidance counselors. Ang mga mahalagang concepts ng mental health naman ay nakapasok na sa ating curriculum sa pamamagitan ng subject area ng homeroom guidance led by our Bureau of Curriculum Development or BCD. Sinusupplement yan ng comprehensive guidance and counseling program na pinangungunahan din ng BCD kung saan ginagabayan ang guidance counselors at guidance advocates sa DepEd kung paano magbibigay ng mental health counseling at paano mag-refer. Mental health awareness services at referral for learners din ang pinalakas ng school mental health program bilang bahagi ng offline kalusugan sa DepEd. Ang panghuli sa panahon ng sakuna at crisis, nariyan ang ating mental health and psychosocial support sa pangunguna ng ating disaster risk reduction and management services. So masasabi natin na ang mga mental health initiatives, mga activities ay naka-integrate na sa mga activities ng mga na-mention natin kanina na mga offices sa Department of Education. Bibigyan ko lang kayo ng quick updates para sa bawat programang ito na tumutugon sa mental health sa DepEd. Para sa personnel mental health, pina-finalize na ang EWW framework kung saan buong tinitingnan ang welfare ng mga empleyado at isang critical na component ng mental health. Ang Organizational Effectiveness Division din ay nakikipag-ugnayan sa DBM kung paano masusuportahan ang HROD needs para sa ating guidance counselors, maging iba pang mga health personnel. Halos 70% naman ng mga most essential learning competencies ng homeroom guidance ay related sa mental health. Bukod pa yan sa iba pang concepts about mental health na nasa iba't ibang subject tulad ng health. Ang comprehensive guidance and counseling naman ay nagtakda ng guidance paano ang gagawin ng mga guidance counselor at guidance advocates lalo na sa pagbibigay ng guidance and counseling sa pagre-refer ng mga mag-aral na may mental health needs. Kino-complement yan ng ating school mental health program kung saan ang focus ay pag-increase ng awareness sa mental health concepts at issues, pag-identify ng mga learners at risk at pag-refer sa kanila kung kailangan. Sinasaayos natin through our ARH program ang pag-adopt ng heads tool para matukoy ang mga learners na nangangailangan ng psychosocial support at mai-connect sila sa mas malawak na referral system. Ang school mental health program din ay bahagi ng Okay sa DepEd or Offline Kalusugan sa DepEd na pinapalakas natin sa pamamagitan ng healthy learning institutions. Mas magiging focus ng aking presentation ang school mental health bilang chief ng School Health Division. Panghuli, dahil ang COVID-19 ay isang public health emergency, nanguna naman ang DRRMS sa pagbibigay ng mental health and psychosocial support kabilang na ang toolkits bilang suporta sa pagbubukas muli ng face-to-face classes. Ngunit katulad ng sabi ko, ang focus ng aking presentation ay ang school mental health program sa context ng offline kalusugan sa DepEd at pagtingin ng healthy learning institutions na in-adopt natin sa DepEd. Ang mga susunod na 20 slides ay batay sa presentation na ibinahagi naman sa amin ng Department of Health, ang aming kapatid at partner sa pag-align ng offline kalusugan sa DepEd sa tinatawag natin na Healthy Learning Institutions Framework para mas maunawaan natin kung ano ba ang HLI framework na ito at paano natin pinapalakas ang school mental health programs pamamagitan ng HLI framework. Isa-isahin natin ang tinatawag na 6 pillars of a healthy learning institution. Pero bago yan, magkaroon muna tayo ng basic appreciation ng mental health situation ng ating mga learners. There is a mental health crisis among our learners. The school-based student health survey done by the World Health Organization in 2019 showed that 1 in 4 Filipino learners have seriously considered attempting suicide during 12 months before the survey, while 1 in 5 students attempted suicide 1 or more times during the 12 months before the survey. Likewise, the Program for International Student Assessment in 2018 show that 65% of Filipino students, shown here as the red dot, reported being bullied at least a few times a month, much higher compared to the 23% average from the Organization for Economic Cooperation and Development countries, shown here in blue dot. The number of students who feels lonely at school is also 10 percentage points higher than the average of the OECD countries. Furthermore, due to the long school closures, children are in need of mental health support. Save the Children reported that 8 out of 10 children report increase in negative feelings due to COVID-19. With most of our Filipino children in school, schools are critical in reversing these trends. Schools should be safe spaces where mental health and well-being is promoted and safeguarded. They must be active partners and champions for the mental health of all children and youth, as it is currently accepted that a major barrier to learning is the absence of essential social emotional skills and not necessarily a lack of sufficient cognitive skills. In addition, emotional and behavioral disorders can adversely affect a child's successful participation in a range of school activities, including classroom work and social interaction with peers and adults. Now let's look at this slide. In the multi-tiered system of supports model shown here, there are 3 tiers. Often we think about mental health, we often think of tiers 2 and 3, which is more individual focused, deficit-driven, and delivered by specialists. Kapag sinabi mo may mental health issue, lagi kang nakatutok dito sa 2 tiers. So tier 2 and tier at risk, which may targeted screening to identify sino nga ba yung mga at risk at saka yung mga individuals, and group therapy to enhance coping skills of students at risk. While tier 3 are for students that have been diagnosed with mental health challenges. So sila na yung bigyan ng diagnosis at kailangang dumaan sa mas individualized interventions. This can include interventions like intensive therapies or the provision of crisis management services. Only about 1 to 5% of students would need tier 3 support, and about 5 to 10% of students need tier 2 support. Now, we need to flip the way we think about and where to allocate resources for mental health in schools. Dapat nakatuon tayo doon sa universal target. We should increase our investments in the universal whole of school strategies for promoting positive mental health among all students kahit wala silang mental health challenges. This can include yung ginagawa natin na school events, and congratulations kasi ito yung mga karamihan din na ginagawa ng ating mga schools. Andito yung parent education, yung mga mental health awareness events, yung mga classroom observations, social and emotional learning curricula, positive behavioral trainings and support, and in-service trainings. Basically, gusto natin na maka-create ng enabling environment for students to be mentally happy and healthy. For this, you don't need to be a psychiatrist, psychologist, guidance counselors to be able to improve mental health of our Filipino students. So mental health and wellness is everyone's business. Hindi pa pwedeng sabihin natin na, ay hindi kasi naman ako health personnel, ay hindi naman ako doktor or psychiatrist. Kaya sa kanila na yung trabahong yan. Lahat tayo ay may kakayahan na makapagbigay ng suporta para maitaas natin yung tinatawag na mga protective factors at maibaba natin ang mga risk factors. Alright? What does Tier 1 or universal or school-wide health promotion look like? So it means creating environments that promote and sustain positive mental health for everyone. And activities and interventions are designed to enhance protective factors and minimize risk factors. So how do we do that? We can approach it using the World Health Organization Health Promoting Schools Framework. Merong 6 na pillars under the World Health Organization Health Promoting Schools Framework. So, andyan yung healthy school policy, meron ba tayong polisiya, yung physical school environment, yung social school environment, links with the community, healthy skills and education, and access to healthcare. For healthy school policy, it means that schools shall have policies that contribute to the physical and emotional safety of all students. So nakikita natin na holistic pa rin ang ating approach. Ensure that the school adopts a code of conduct to be followed by learners and school staff, and review discipline policies to ensure equity. For physical school environments, this means maintaining safe school environments both physically and virtually. Examples of this includes teen centers, teen hubs, or other safe spaces where students can express themselves. Kasama na rin dito yung mga physical facilities sa eskwelahan, yung mga gender segregated toilets, yung mga group hand washing facilities kung saan pwede silang maghugas ng kamay, mag-toothbrush ng kanilang ngipin. And bakit kailangan ginagawa ito, yung pag-provide ng physical environment para ma-develop yung habit. Kasi kapag na-develop yung habit, automatic na yung behavior na yan. Kasama rin yung yung magandang classroom, safe na kung saan sila pwedeng maglaro, yung maayos na bubong, maayos na ilaw, maayos na kantin, maayos na gate, or maayos na mga pwedeng paglaruan ng ating mga learners. So yung physical environment, napakahalaga. Under social school environment, this means advocating for whole school professional development at helping all adults become mental health promoters. So kailangan tayo mismo maging advocate ng mental health, maging role model ng mental health. And this can include discussions about positive discipline principles, particularly developing a social and emotional learning curricula and ensuring that students' academic requirements are not too mentally taxing and would allow for sufficient time for hobbies, working, and resting. Kailangan pa rin balanse yung ating mga ginagawa. School clubs and peer groups are avenues where students can express themselves, be with people of similar interest, and it can foster connectedness and be an avenue to promote mental health. The clubs doesn't have to be health-related, but music, arts, and crafts can be avenues for school to distress themselves. This should be actively encouraged within the schools. Young personnel at the school, parents, guardians, and wider school community should also be involved. This may be through school events, parent education, and mental health awareness events. During this engagement with parents and caregivers, parents can be advised on the following. So kailangan na they can spend time with their children in enjoyable activities, and they can play and communicate with their child, listen to the child, and show understanding and respect tsaka yung pagbibigay ng suporta sa mga sa kanilang mga anak to anticipate major life changes and also to respond to a child's reaction in a supportive and gentle way during crises and emergencies. Also encourage children to actively participate and be involved in decision making about treatment, and advise, encourage, and support children to practice online safety and to inform them about bullying, including online bullying and harassment. Parents and caregivers workshop to promote their child's well-being and function. So, nire-remind natin ang mga parents and guardians to teach adolescents about appropriate conflict resolution techniques, dealing with interpersonal violence, internet safety, and ways to avoid cyberbullying. Also, reinforcing respect, which fosters healthy relationship and safety, providing assistance in dealing with challenging living situations, and lack of food security through a referral mechanism scheme to community food and nutrition program and resources, and also to strengthen connectedness with family and peers by emphasizing yung value ng pag-stay together, spending time, investing moments, and maintaining open communication, offering support as an independent person. As appropriate, advise parents and guardians to help improve school performance by emphasizing the importance of education. Bakit mahalaga ang edukasyon sa kanilang pangarap, yung kahalagahan ng kanilang pag-aaral upang darating na panahon sila naman din ang magtataguyod sa kanilang mga pamilya kapag naabot nila yung kanilang pangarap. Praise positive work efforts and achievements. Monitor and guide them with schoolwork. Help with organization and setting priorities, and encourage reading appropriate subjects of interest to the adolescent. So kailangan din na alam natin kung ano yung kiliti ng mga adolescents, ano yung kanilang mga interest, and sumabay din tayo doon. Provide guidance in coping with stress and in making decisions. Encourage parents and guardians to involve them in family decision-making as appropriate, and motivate them to think of solutions rather than providing all the answers. So kung at an early age ay na-involve sila sa decision-making process, then matututo sila ng proseso kung paano mag-solve ng mga problems. Lastly, for those students who would inevitably need additional mental health support, then there should be referral mechanism to appropriate counselors, psychologists, or psychiatrists. Hindi naman kasi lahat ng services kaya nating ibigay sa school. So, kailangan meron tayong referral network at kailangan din na alam natin kung saan tayo hihingi ng suporta, ng tulong sa local government units or sa mga health professionals outside of the schools. Universal screening to identify students who might be at risk and needing Tier 2 and 3 support is recommended. So, meron din tayong mga tinatawag na assessment or tools para ma-screen natin yung mga learners na kinakailangan ng interventions. And the HEADS assessment is a screening tool for conducting a comprehensive psychosocial history and health risk assessment with a young person. And it goes through 8 aspects of a child's life, specifically home, education and employment, eating and exercise, activities and peer relationships, drug use, cigarettes, alcohol, and sexuality. So nakikita natin na merong connect ang iba't ibang components ng buhay. May connect ang substance use prevention, sexuality, suicide and depression, and safety. Kasi sa safety, for example, kung natatakot ka palagi, you don't feel safe doon sa classroom, o kaya sa mga kaibigan mo hindi ka safe, so magkakaroon yan ng epekto sa ating mental health. O kung kaya meron kang mga problems with ng relationships mo sa mga kaibigan mo, naapektuhan din ang mental health. As far as the Department of Health is concerned, they are working to ensure that all our health facilities will be child and adolescent friendly, such that our health facilities and health personnel are accessible, acceptable, equitable, appropriate, and effective. In summary, the most effective school-based mental health promotion programs are comprehensive, and it involves the whole school, focuses on personal skill development, and includes parents and wider community. Utilizing the WHO 6 pillars of WHO Health Promoting Schools framework can help ensure that the program will meet this. Ang tinitignan natin ay ang mental health program pa lang. At ang mental health ay isa lang sa multifaceted needs ng ating learners. So sa DepEd, naniniwala tayo na there is no health without mental health. At the same time, there is no mental health without overall health. Kaya naman, comprehensive nating tinutugunan ang lahat ng pangangailangan ito sa pamamagitan ng tinatawag nating Oplan Kalusugan sa DepEd. Yung ginagawa nating pagpapalakas ng bawat pillar ng healthy learning institutions para sa mental health ay ginagawa natin sa iba pang mga programa. I know I have limited time, so let me just walk through the other programs of OK sa DepEd. So kasama na po dyan yung school-based feeding program and other nutrition support, yung pagbibigay natin ng pagkain sa mga undernourished learners, yung medical and dental and nursing services, yung mga health personnel natin na bumibisita sa inyo, nagbibigay ng medical, dental, and nursing services, yung ating water sanitation and hygiene in schools program through the 3-star approach na nagkakaroon ng assessment sa mga eskwelahan at malalaman natin kung sila ba ay comply doon sa 5 non-negotiable criteria kagaya ng safe drinking water. Napaka-basic po na right yan na dapat may safe drinking water. Merong gender segregated toilet, iba sa pambabae, isa sa panlalaki. Group 1 hand washing facilities, group hand washing activities para ma-develop yung habit at menstrual hygiene management. We also have adolescent reproductive health, the National Drug Education Program with comprehensive tobacco control, and the school mental health program. So hindi ko na po yan iisa-hisahin. Ang mahalaga lang po ay ma-appreciate natin na holistic yung ating approach at okay sa DepEd dahil nandyan kayo at ang kalusugan ang ating finofocus. So in closing, children need to be educated so that they can be healthy. And children need to be healthy so that they can be educated. Magandang hapon po sa ating lahat.
Thank you very much, Doc Dumlao. Indeed, there is no health without mental health, and there is no mental health without comprehensive health. And I so love the flagship programs of your department, ma'am. So this concludes basically the series of discussions on our 3 summit concepts for today. Karapatan, Kalidad, at Kalinga. Thank you very much po once again, Doc Dumlao, for your presentation and message.
So may question ako, gising pa ba ang lahat? Hopefully, ay na-absorb po natin ang mga sinabi ng ating mga learners, no? At ni Doc Dumlao na kahit na katatapos lang ng ating lunch break kanina. Ayan. Attorney Orville.
So, as of now, we come closer to the end of this year's 4th National Summit, okay, on the rights of the child in education. We would again like to hear from our learners. In last week's pre-summit conference, our partners from Save the Children, Miss Edna Ramirez, my idol, and Miss Olive Burgos conducted seminars and workshops for our learners and about their rights. As rights holders, children should unconditionally be afforded the enjoyment of their rights. But of course, when there are rights, there are also responsibilities that come along with these rights. We acknowledge that the children are also involved in the empowerment of their own rights. That's why we invite our learners to show their own commitment in exercising and upholding their rights.
Yes, Attorney Orville, kaya naman, tawagin na natin ulit ang ating mga learners. And this time, she's here to give us her statement of commitment. We have Bettina Andrea Mirandilla, an ALS passer and a homeschooler.
I am Bettina Andrea Mirandilla, an alternative learning system graduate from School Division of Pasay. And on behalf of my fellow students, it is a pleasure to be here and pledge our commitment to our rights as youth. With all of what I've learned during this summit in regard to my rights in education, I commit to share my learnings to my fellow youth and give them awareness of their own rights. I commit myself to promoting a safer, healthier, and more positive learning environment in formal and non-formal education, and encourage and remind every youth that it is never too late to start learning and finish their education. I solemnly swear to uphold my own rights and the rights of my fellow children to the best of my abilities without deterring the rights of others. With this, I would like to end this statement of commitment with a quote of Confucius. Education breeds confidence. Confidence breeds hope. And hope breeds peace. Again, I am Bettina Andrea Mirandilla. Thank you and a youthful morning to all of us.
Thank you very much, Bettina. Bilang isang guro, nagagalak ako na marinig ang ating mga mag-aaral na pinaninindigan talaga nila, no? Yung kanilang mga karapatan at ang mga kaakibat na responsibilidad nito.
Tamang-tama yan, Miss Isa, no? And of course, thank you once again to all our dear learners. Of course, we as adults and as part of the Department of Education are duty bearers who are committed to keeping with our legal obligation to respect, protect, promote, and fulfill the rights of the children. With this, we call our fellow duty bearers into action so that our children will be able to realize their rights in education. We will now hear from our esteemed DepEd officials as leaders of our department for their messages of support for our children and their call to action for our duty bearers.
Isang maligayang pagbati mula sa Kagawaran ng Edukasyon, Pambansang Punong Reyon. Ngayong araw ng mga bata, sama-sama nating harapin ang pag-asa ng muling pagbangon para sa magandang kinabukasan ng mga bata. Anumang hamon ang haharapin sa hinaharap, naniniwala ako na sa tamang gabay ng magulang at guro, ang kabataang Pilipino ay magpupunyagi at magtatagumpay. Mabuhay ang mga bata. Mabuhay ang mga batang Pilipino.
Mas paitingin ang pagtutok sa naging kahinaan, epekto ng pagpili ng pag-alaw upang maabot ng mga bata tungo sa kalidad na edukasyon.
Upang mapagaan at mapadali ang pag-abot sa pangangailangan ng mga kawani para sa lahat. Magiging katuwang ng aming mga anak sa abot ng makakaya upang malampasan ang bagong hamon nila.
Sa mga batang araw, maligayang na 30 punta ang pagdiriwang ng National Children's
Kalusugan, kaisipan at kapakanan ng bawat bata ating tututukan.
Para sa bata, para sa bayan.
Magandang hapon po sa inyong lahat. Ang kasalukuyang National Children's Summit ay binansagan ng temang Pagtataguyod sa Karapatan, Kalidad ng Edukasyon at Kalinga para sa Kabataang Pilipino. Napakaangkop nito, lalong-lalo na ang ating kabataan ngayon ay lumaki sa pambihirang panahon ng pandemic. Ang ibig sabihin nito, ibang-iba ang kinilalang mundo ng mga kabataan. In the past 2 years, the world shut down and every single core memory of these kids was shaped by the pandemic. Hindi biro para sa atin ang pinagdaanan natin. At actually, pinagdadaanan pa rin natin ito sa new normal. Lagi nga nating sinasabi that we missed out on life during the lockdown. Pero how much more sa mga kabataan? Hands down, it's very difficult to look forward at any age and envision the future when even tomorrow is so uncertain. Gayunpaman, nakarating na tayo sa puntong ito at panahon na para mabuhayan ng loob. We have a lot of work to do para sa ating kabataan dahil hindi tayo dapat makontento that the kids will be okay. When our children grow up, we want them to be successful. Nandito kami sa DepEd to make sure that happens, not just with our full support, but with all our love.
Sa ating mga mag-aaral, kabataan, magulang, guro at mga opisyal at kawani ng Department of Education. Isang makabatang pagbati mula sa Legal Affairs Strand. Kami ay nakikiisa sa pagdiriwang ng National Children's Month ngayong 2022 bilang paggunita sa ika-33 na anibersaryo ng United Nations Convention on the Rights of the Child o UNCRC. Ang bata ang nasa gitna ng lahat ng ating mga gawain sa Department of Education. Alinsunod dito ang aming pagsusumikap na matupad ang karapatan ng bawat bata sa edukasyon, kabilang ang karapatang magkaroon ng access sa edukasyon, karapatan sa kalidad na edukasyon at ang karapatan sa paggalang at kapakanan sa loob at labas ng paaralan. Layunin ng Child Rights Policy o ang ating DepEd Order No. 31, Series of 2022, ang mapalaganap ang Rights-Based Education Framework o RBE sa DepEd upang maisaalang-alang ito ng lahat ng stakeholders ng edukasyon mula sa ating mga mag-aaral, sa magulang, guro, sa mga pinuno ng paaralan at mga kawani ng ating Department of Education at syempre po ang mga kasangga natin sa pampubliko at pampribadong sektor. Ang mga karahasan, diskriminasyon, abuso at pananamantalang pinagdaraanan ng ating mga mag-aaral ay isang malaking hadlang sa kanilang edukasyon. Bukod dito, kinakailangan ding panatilihin at mapabuti ang kalidad ng kanilang edukasyon habang unti-unti tayong sumusulong mula sa epekto ng pandemya. Tiyakin natin na may mga programang naglulutas sa mga problema at hinaing ng mga mag-aaral ukol sa kanilang kalusugang pangkaisipan. Nais ng inyong Department of Education na tugunan ang mga isyong ito upang makasigurong handa ang mga paaralan at ating mga mag-aaral na ipagpatuloy ang maayos na pag-aaral. Hinahangad ng inyong Department of Education na ipagkaloob sa kabataan ang nararapat na ligtas at makabuluhang karanasan sa edukasyon sa pamamagitan ng pagtamasa ng kanilang mga karapatan upang sila'y ganahan na mag-aral at matuto. Bilang paghahanda sa kanilang pagtanda at pagiging responsableng mamamayan na makikilahok sa kaunlaran ng ating bansa. Hangad din ng inyong Department of Education na ang ating mga guro ay makakaramdam ng katuparan sa kanilang pagtuturo at ang mga magulang ay makahanap ng kumpiyansa sa ating sistema ng edukasyon. Sa pagwakas ng taunang pagdiriwang ng National Children's Month, atin pong alalahaning hindi rito nagtatapos ang pagtaguyod sa karapatan, kalidad na edukasyon, at kalinga para sa kabataang Pilipino. Kami sa Legal Affairs ng inyong Department of Education sa pamumuno ng atin pong Vice Presidente at Secretary of Education ni Sara Zimmerman Duterte ay nananatiling tapat sa aming mandatong magbigay ng serbisyo sa ikabubuti ng atin at ating mga mag-aaral at ating paralan. Aming hinihikayat ang mga mag-aaral na makisali sa pagsasakatuparan ng inyong mga karapatan. Inaanyayahan din namin ang aming kapwa nakatatanda sa buong paaralan, buong departamento, sa buong pamahalaan at sa buong lipunan na mamanatang gampanan ang ating mga tungkuling irespeto, ipagtanggol, ipatupad at ipaunlad ang karapatan ng bata sa edukasyon. Maraming salamat po.
To our dear learners, parents, teachers, DepEd colleagues, education advocates, and stakeholders, isang makabatang hapon sa inyong lahat. The Department of Education remains committed to its mission to protect and promote the right of every Filipino to quality, equitable, culture-based, and complete basic education, where students learn in a child-friendly, gender-sensitive, safe, and motivating environment. As we continue to dream of Filipinos who passionately love their country and whose values and competencies enable them to realize their full potential and contribute meaningfully to building the nation, we keep in mind that children are able to build their values both at home and in school, as they prepare to become the next generation of adults responsible for nation building. The school is a safe place. The school should be a place where children enjoy learning and teachers enjoy teaching. Children are rights holders. Bata pa man sila, sila ay may karapatan na. In the DepEd, we fully support and advocate for the rights of children in education and call upon our fellow duty bearers to respect, protect, promote, and fulfill the rights of the child. As our takeaway from the 4th National Summit on the Rights of the Child in Education with the theme Pagtataguyod sa Karapatan, Kalidad na Edukasyon at Kalinga para sa Kabataang Pilipino, we are reminded of the current state of children's rights in education and their mental health, and the progress in ensuring quality education as we ease our way out of the pandemic. We take due note of all the concerns and suggestions that our learners raised during the pre-summit conference, and we shall consider them accordingly to improve the department's ongoing and forthcoming plans. Because the learners are also our essential partners in the development of the Philippine education system. Though the celebration of National Children's Month draws to a close, we should always be mindful of its objective of instilling the significance of children's rights in the Filipino consciousness. I encourage our dear learners to work hand in hand to learn and be aware of their rights and become responsible advocates of their own rights. I also invite our parents, teachers, the whole of school, the whole of community, the whole of government, the whole of nation, to answer the call of our obligations and enable our children to realize their rights. Maraming salamat po.
Maraming salamat po, Yusek Brady, Asek Amanda, Director POA, and RD Cabral sa inyong mga mensahe ng suporta sa patuloy na pagtataguyod ng karapatan, kalidad na edukasyon, at kalinga para sa kabataang Pilipino. Naway isa puso ng bawat bata, guro, magulang at ng ating mga kasamahan dito sa DepEd ang mga naririnig or ang mga narinig at matapang nating harapin ang hamon ng ating mga obligasyon at responsibilidad para sa kabataang Pilipino. And so our day-long program for the 4th National Summit on the Rights of the Child in Education is drawing to a close. But before we get there, let's review the day's events. Earlier this morning, we were oriented with the objectives of the 4th National Summit as contextualized with the 1st, 2nd, and 3rd summits in the past years. Our dear learners, Miguel, Mark, Khalifa, and Mary gave their reports on the results of their workshops and discussions during the pre-summit conference held last week. They identified the rights involved, programs of interest, important issues involved, and also gave their recommendations on these issues. The Department of Education shall consider these inputs from our learners from the improvement of policies, programs, and service delivery. And based on our theme for the 4th Summit, Pagtataguyod sa Karapatan, Kalidad na Edukasyon, at Kalinga para sa Kabataang Pilipino, we heard lectures. On Karapatan, we have Attorney R.S. Siosa from CREED, Legal Affairs, and he shared with us the rights-based education framework in the DepEd, as articulated under our Child Rights Policy, and ASEC Dexter Galban of the Youth Affairs and Special Concerns discussed relevant and timely matters involving mental health based on the existing mental health laws. On Kalidad, we had ASEC GH Ambat of the Alternative Learning System, and she gave us a comprehensive report on the status of the Alternative Learning System and the Learning Recovery and Continuity Plan that will ensure delivery of quality education in response to the learning poverty dealt by the effects of the COVID-19 pandemic. We also heard from Planning Service Director Roger Masapol on the plans of the department through the BEDP 2030 or Basic Education Development Plan, particularly how they center on the resilience of well-being of children under the 4th pillar of BEDP.
And on Kalinga, this afternoon, Mr. Rogelio Lelis Jr. gave us a glimpse of the impact of COVID-19 on the mental well-being of children in select cities and provided us significant data and information on how our children are coping during the time of the pandemic. Then Dr. Maria Corazon Dumlao gave us a talk on the initiatives and efforts of the Department of Education offices, particularly the Oplan Kalusugan sa DepEd, which adapts the healthy learning institutions framework. After the plenary sessions, we heard from our very own learners. Through the voice of Bettina, the children's statement of commitment on how they, after learning about their rights, are prepared to take measures for the protection and advancement of their rights. And finally, we also heard from our very own DepEd leaders, RD Wilfredo Cabral, USEC Brady De Castro, ASEC Amanda Nograles, and Director Michael Kua, their official statement of support and inspiring messages to all of us, rights holders and duty bearers alike, in our shared roles in respecting, protecting, fulfilling, and promoting children's rights in education towards their full realization. And to wrap up this recap, our team has prepared a same-day edit video of today's summit. Kudos to Sir Daryl, Sir Manuel, and to the rest of our tech team, no? Very nice same-day edit. And with that, I would like to formally conclude this activity by calling Attorney RS for the closing remarks.
And so, thank you po, Attorney Orville and Ma'am Isa. Isang makabata at magandang hapon po sa ating lahat. When all is said and done for the 4th National Summit on the Rights of the Child in Education, I would like to take this opportunity to express how honored I am to have been part of this event and to have worked with everyone who organized it. Since joining the DepEd family and public service earlier this year, I have been immersed in legal work that advocates for the advancement of child rights in education. I have realized just how valuable these rights are in attaining the best possible experience that every child deserves to have in school and in life. I am grateful for all our viewers who joined us this Saturday, our dear learners, parents, teachers, partners, and DepEd colleagues and officials. I sincerely hope that this year's summit has given everyone a more profound understanding of the DepEd's current programs and a deeper appreciation of child rights in education, and has challenged and motivated us to answer the call of action to assume our respective roles for the realization of these rights. We are happy and thankful for all our learners and guardians, our parents, teachers, and youth coordinators who joined us in the pre-summit conference last week, and those who volunteered to join us again today and have delivered their reports, namely Miguel Alfonso Santiago from Parañaque Science High School, Mark Clarence Quintans of Rizal High School, Pasig, Sher Khalifa Floresta of Morning Breeze Elementary School, Caloocan, Mary Antoinette Tosok of Manggahan Elementary School, Pasig, and Bettina Andrea Mirandilla, our ALS passer from SDO Pasay and a homeschooler. I would like to thank and congratulate the people who worked so hard to make this summit possible. First, our organizing team from CREED and the Office of the Undersecretary for Legal Affairs, Antoinette Escario, Daryl Santos, and Randel Garcia, Attorney Jemmy Rose Loot, and to our summit focal team in the Legal Affairs strand, Harold Lacerna, Archie Raimundo, Marian Cruzin, Dan Guasis, Sobair Bato, Gwyn Pamplina, Nati Danao, May Ibarreta, and Kuya Satur. Our hardworking DepEd colleagues from the Public Affairs Service, Information and Communication Technology Service, the Clinic and the General Services Division, Youth Formation Division, and Central Security and Safety Office. Our team extends its gratitude to our Legal Affairs strand leaders and heads, Yusek Jose Arturo de Castro, ASEC Amanda Marie Nograles, Director Rowan Orebia, Chief Cornelio Pacala, Chief Rodel Pulma, and Ma'am Aida Rangiris. I would also like to personally thank our former Undersecretary for Legal Affairs, Attorney Josephine Maribohok, for her guidance and sharing with us her passion for the rights of the child. The Legal Affairs strand expresses its warm appreciation for our DepEd leaders and the committed staff members of our DepEd offices. From the Office of the Secretary, Vice President, and Secretary Sara Duterte, and Chief of Staff Yusek Epimaco Densing III. For the Office of the Assistant Secretary for Alternative Learning System, ASEC GH Ambat, Ms. Isha and Ms. Chelsea. From the Office of the Assistant Secretary for Youth Affairs and Special Concerns, ASEC Dexter Galban, Attorney Christine Sindak. From the YFD or Youth Formation Division, Chief Robin Canha, Matt Gaven Matibag, Clarence Canton, Gina Viduya, Gemeline Aceveda, Mariz Agraviador, and Juniel Doloque. From the Public Affairs Service, Director Michael Wesley Poa, Sir Manuelito Santos, Alessandro Bravo, Jericho Biliran, Paul Lorenciano, and Pio Alcantara. From the General Services Division, Sir Ariel Apanay, Kuya Orlando, and Vincent. From the Clinic, Dr. Rainero Reyes, Jessica Jane Cabral, Neil Clifford Cabezas, and Donald Mamamil. From the ICTS, Engineer Sean Michael, Angelo Brocal, Sir Genesis, Miss Kath, and the others. From the Planning Service, Director Roger Masapol and Miss Eileen Ong. From the School Health Division, Dr. Maria Corazon Dumlao, Von Rich Berba, and Mr. Gian Adao. And from the DepEd NCR Regional Office, Regional Director Wilfredo Cabral and Ms. Jenna Lopez Cruz. Of course, we also thank our event partners, Save the Children Philippines, former Undersecretary for Legal Affairs, Attorney Alberto Muyot, Ms. Edna Ramirez, Ms. Olive Burgos, and Sir Rogelio Lelis Jr. From UNICEF Philippines, Ms. Oyon Saikan Dendev Narov, Chief IC Feingold, and Sir Nicolas Tenazas. Our dedicated Filipino Sign Language interpreters, Mr. Joel Angelino and Mr. Patrick John Palomares. And last but certainly not the least, we're so lucky and blessed to have our Masters of Ceremonies who facilitated this year's summit, Ms. Isa Seraon and Attorney Orville de la Serna. Once again, my heartfelt gratitude to everyone. Isang makabatang araw po sa ating lahat. Back to you po, Ma'am Isa and Attorney Orville. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Attorney RS. Wow, ang galing. Congratulations, everyone. What a summit indeed. By the way, just reminding our participants, we will be posting the link for our attendance and evaluation. So wait for a while because you need to click our links. Okay? Thank you once again to everyone who has made this summit possible. From the Department of Education, our summit partners, UNICEF and Save the Children, to our resource speakers, and of course, the learners. So in front of you is the QR code. Please scan the QR code for our evaluation, and we have the link as well. Miss Isa?
Yes, and we would like to request all our Zoom participants to turn on their cameras so they can take a brief group photo. Yan, what you see on your screens right now is the QR code for the attendance link. Kindly access them. Can we turn on our cameras now?
Ayun. So while people are turning on their cameras, I would like to thank my school's division superintendent, my Ma'am Marilyn Andales, for allowing me to be one of the hosts once again in this summit.
Of course, I would also like to thank my school's division superintendent from the Division of Quezon City, Dr. Jeneline Rose B. Corpus. Maraming salamat po, ma'am. And to my school head, Mrs. Cynthia Gomez, and of course, my colleagues and our learners from Masambong Elementary School. Everyone in school is celebrating with this summit.
That's nice. Open na ba yung camera ng lahat?
Ayan.
Shout out pala sa lahat ng mga teachers of DepEd Cebu Province na nanood kasi ang daming nag-PM sa akin that they are actually watching our program.
Yeah,
Di naman sa obvious na cleanag ko sa lahat ng mga group chats namin ay yung ating live feeds.
Just the same, attorney, I can also see a lot of greetings sa ating Facebook comment section, no, coming from NCR and Quezon City specifically. So maraming salamat din po sa inyong suporta sa summit natin.
Okay, are our cameras open so that we can take our group picture for our Zoom participants? And once again, just a reminder, make sure that you get to click the attendance link and scan our given QR code. Sino bang mag-QQ, Isa, for our group photo?
I think
Sir
they're preparing
Daryl?
it now. Ayan, yung mga kasama natin sa Zoom. I cannot see it on my screen right now. So, ayan, bibigyan tayo ng cue ni, yes, our tech team.
Yun nga eh. The sobrang galing na tech team, no? We are
Yes.
very much appreciative of our tech team.
Yes.
Ayun, so nasa group chat na din natin, no? Sa Zoom, yung lahat ng mga links. Okay, that's very good.
Do not forget to access those links for the attendance and the evaluation. Ayan.
Ayun. Yan.
Gusto ko na yung paganda ni Miss Eds.
Nasaan si Edna?
There. Hamburger.
Ayun. Sige po, Sir Daryl, cue nyo lang. Parang ang dami yatang frames nun Magsabi lang po kayo kung tapos na, Sir Daryl. Bigay naman natin yung mga smile natin, guys.
Yeah, we hope that you open your cameras.
Okay. Siya yata yung iba eh.
Yeah, we're done. We're done with the photo op. Attorney Orville?
Okay, I think we're done with the photo op. So to all our learners, participants, and viewers, this is the 4th National Summit on the Rights of the Child in Education.
Maraming salamat.
Maraming salamat. Isang makabatang araw sa ating lahat. Thank you very much, everyone, for joining, and hope we learned a lot from today's summit. And see you guys soon
Next year.
on the next summit.
Really? Okay. Miss Eds, you're still on Zoom. Thank you very much, Miss Eds.
Edna,